choosing the right tools to power your business, things like a CRM and marketing platform, it really feels like picking the perfect engine for your car, doesn't it?
Totally. It has to fit what you need right now.
Exactly. But also, have room for where you want to go later.
It's a huge decision.
Yeah.
And navigating all the options out there, well, it can be pretty overwhelming.
Well, hopefully we can help cut through some of that today. We've taken a really deep dive into a whole stack of sources for you.
Comparisons, user reviews, tech breakdowns, the works.
All looking at two really big names in this space, Brevo and HubSpot.
Yep, those are the two we're unpacking.
So our mission here is pretty simple. Cut through the noise, pull out the key differences from these sources.
And help you get the insights you need to figure out which one might, just might, be a better fit for your business goals.
Okay, let's open these sources up. What's the first impression?
Okay, so Brevo. You might remember them as Sendinblue. They rebranded back in 2023.
Right, got it.
The sources mostly describe it as an all-in-one marketing platform, but with a really strong emphasis on communication tools.
Like email, SMS.
Exactly. Email, SMS, WhatsApp, chat automation, those direct connection points. It's consistently positioned as, well, budget-friendly.
Okay, and ideal for who, mainly?
Small to mid-sized businesses seem to be the sweet spot mentioned. Also, folks just starting with marketing automation and definitely e-commerce businesses.
Makes sense. And HubSpot, how do the sources frame that one?
HubSpot comes across more as this comprehensive, scalable CRM platform. It integrates sales, marketing, customer service, even operations.
All built around that inbound marketing idea, right?
Precisely. That's core to their philosophy, attracting customers with valuable content, pulling them in rather than pushing messages out.
So less about cold outreach, more about creating value.
That's the idea behind inbound, yeah.
Interesting distinction. So even though both might have CRM features, their whole approach feels different from the ground up.
Definitely different philosophies driving the tools.
All right, let's get into the nuts and bolts features. How do they stack up? Maybe you start with sales pipeline management. That seems core.
Okay. The sources really talk up HubSpot's sales platform, particularly if you've got a larger sales team.
What makes it powerful?
You get a clear visual overview of deals, you can customize stages, automate tasks, plus they have robust analytics and reporting. Pretty advanced contact management, too.
And cost-wise for that.
Sources mention their Sales Hub starter plan kicks off around $20 per user per month.
Okay. And Brevo on the sales side.
Brevo is described more in terms of focusing on lead management and sales forecasting. It also has customizable deal stages, tracking deals.
That's solid.
Yeah, and what really jumped out from the sources is that Brevo's sales platform is actually free.
Free? For how many users?
Unlimited users, according to the sources. So it's positioned as a really viable option for small to mid-sized businesses. It includes sales automation, bulk contact imports.
Wow. Okay. That free unlimited user part versus $20 per user per month. That's a huge difference right off the bat, isn't it?
Absolutely, especially for teams. The math changes dramatically.
Okay, let's move to a big one. Email marketing. This seems like a core area for both.
For sure. And both have the basics covered,
Right.
drag and drop editors, free templates, basic analytics like opens, clicks, bounces, standard stuff.
Right. But Brevo seems to really push beyond just email.
Yeah, the sources highlight its multi-channel strength. SMS and WhatsApp integration alongside email is a big point.
And their free plan sounded generous.
Very. One source mentioned up to 300 emails daily and unlimited contacts. Another even said up to 100,000 contacts for free.
Unlimited contacts on the free plan. That's significant.
It seems geared towards businesses doing a lot of direct communication, maybe e-commerce transactional emails.
But there was a potential catch. Deliverability.
Right. One source did mention potential inconsistencies with email deliverability for Brevo. Definitely something to look into if email is absolutely critical for you.
Okay. Compare that to HubSpot's email offering then.
HubSpot's free plan is tighter, around 2,000 emails per month, and it's contact limited right away.
And their paid starter plan.
The Marketing Hub starter is about $20 a month, but that only gets you 1,000 contacts. Features like A/B testing, the sources suggest, often require jumping up to higher, more expensive tiers.
So if email volume and list size on a budget are key, Brevo's free tier seems way more generous based on this.
It certainly looks that way from the sources, yeah.
Automation. This is often where the real efficiency gains come in, right?
Right.
But access seems different.
Hugely different. Automation is a game changer, but who gets it and what it costs varies a lot here.
So Brevo's automation.
They offer automation for email, SMS, WhatsApp, triggered by customer behavior,
Yeah.
welcome emails, abandoned cart stuff.
And you get some of that for free.
Yeah, the sources mention you get access to some automation tools on the free tier, though the contact limit varied a bit, 300 or maybe 2,000 contacts.
But the key point is getting unlimited automation.
Right. That starts at a much lower price point than HubSpot. Sources put it around $49 or maybe $69 a month. And crucially, no big setup fees mentioned just for the automation features.
Okay, because this is where HubSpot shifts gears dramatically, according to the sources.
Exactly. HubSpot has extensive automation, too, across sales and service.
But is.
To get those really powerful behavior-triggered workflows, the sources are clear. You almost always need their professional package.
And that's the expensive one.
That's the big jump. Figures like $880 or $890 a month were mentioned.
Wow, per month.
And that's before the setup fee.
Ah, yes, the setup fee. How much was that again?
The sources flagged it as being pretty substantial, around $200, $930 or $3,000.
Okay, so accessing serious automation in HubSpot is a major investment. Much more than Brevo.
Way more. Brevo makes core automation much more accessible financially. HubSpot's cheaper plans. Just basic autoresponders, really.
That cost difference for automation alone, I mean, that could be the decider for a lot of businesses.
It really highlights a fundamental difference in who they're targeting with those advanced features.
Which brings us nicely to overall pricing structures. Always critical. And they sound quite distinct.
Very distinct. Brevo's pricing scales mainly on how many emails you send each month.
And the big differentiator there was contacts.
Unlimited contact storage. Highlighted again and again in the sources, even on free and lower tiers.
So free plan is 300 emails a day. What about starter paid plans?
There was some variation in the sources, but numbers like $9 a month for 5,000 emails, or maybe $14 for 1.5K contacts, and 9K emails, or $29 for 20K emails.
Okay, so different structures even within their own plans sometimes.
Seems like it, but the focus is email volume. Business plans were around $18 or $69 a month for 20K emails, and generally no big onboarding fees mentioned.
HubSpot's model then, completely different focus.
Primarily driven by the number of contacts you manage, especially for the marketing side.
So that Marketing Hub starter, $20 a month, is just for 1,000 contacts.
Right. And the sources really stress how quickly that cost can ramp up. That jump to professional at $880 to $890 a month is huge, plus the setup fees.
And adding more contacts costs extra too.
Yep. One source mentioned $250 a month for every extra 5,000 contacts on professional.
Ouch.
The point being made is, with HubSpot, you pay to manage contacts, whether you email them often or not, if your list grows fast or you have a big database.
It gets expensive quickly, even if you aren't actively marketing to all of them.
Exactly. You're paying for the potential audience size versus Brevo, where you pay more for the communication volume.
That's a really crucial difference. You need to understand how your list works and how you use it.
Absolutely key strategic decision there.
Okay, features, cost. What about actually using them? Day-to-day user experience.
Brevo is generally described as functional, pretty user-friendly, especially for email marketing.
But maybe not as slick.
Some users find the interface less polished or maybe less intuitive than HubSpot's.
Which is often described how?
More visually appealing, more polished overall. That seems to be the consensus.
And getting started. Onboarding.
Brevo gets points for a simpler onboarding process, remember? No big fees mentioned there, and a good knowledge base. Feels accessible for beginners.
HubSpot. Being more complex.
Generally seen as having a steeper learning curve. Just more features, more to configure.
They offer help.
Yeah, sources say they provide onboarding assistance, lots of tutorials, forums, extensive resources.
And there was an interesting distinction one source made about HubSpot. Onboarding versus implementation.
Ah, yes. That was helpful. Onboarding is like the initial setup, maybe 4-6 weeks, getting the core stuff running.
But implementation is deeper.
Much deeper. Migrating complex data, setting up really intricate workflows, integrating with other major systems. That could be 6-12 weeks, maybe even longer.
And that's where those big setup fees likely come in.
Almost certainly. If you have complex needs, HubSpot implementation is a serious project, longer, more involved, and costlier than Brevo's simpler setup.
Good distinction to keep in mind. It signals the potential scale.
Definitely. Not just flipping a switch.
How well do they play with other tools? Integrations are vital.
Brevo, according to the sources, integrates with over 150 tools. Things like WordPress, Shopify, MailChimp, Zoho, supporting that multi-channel e-commerce
The
focused,
HubSpot.
much larger ecosystem. Their app marketplace lists over 1,500 integrations. Big names like Salesforce, Zoho CRM. It paints a picture of a more extensive network for connecting across more enterprise-level tools.
Makes sense. Okay, what if you need help? Customer support.
Brevo offers email and community support for everyone, which is good for basic stuff.
But live help.
Phone and live chat are typically reserved for the higher tiers, business and enterprise. They do offer support in 6 languages. Users seem happy with setup help, but the lack of live chat on lower plans was noted.
And HubSpot support.
They provide 24/7 email and chat support for all paid plans.
Chat on all paid plans is good.
Yeah. Phone support is still limited to professional and enterprise tiers, though. Generally, paid users report prompt responses.
So maybe better immediate access on lower paid tiers with HubSpot Chat, but phone support is still top tier for both.
Seems to be the case.
Okay, let's try and summarize the pros and cons highlighted across these sources. Brevo first pros.
Affordability is a big one. Good fit for small, mid-sized businesses, beginners. That unlimited context storage advantage is huge. Strong email and multi-channel features. Simpler setup. Dynamic content capabilities.
And the cons for Brevo.
Well, pricing scales with email volume, so that could get costly for extreme volume senders. Maybe limiting if you need really high-end, complex features found elsewhere. Interface less intuitive for some users. And that potential issue with email deliverability needs checking.
Got it. HubSpot pros.
Comprehensive, all-in-one suite CRM, marketing, sales, service, really robust analytics and reporting, scalable for growth, great fit for medium to large companies needing that integrated powerhouse.
And the downsides of HubSpot.
High cost is the main one, especially that professional tier jump and the setup fees. Steeper learning curve because it's complex. And the contact-based pricing can get very expensive as your list grows, possibly paying for things you don't fully use yet.
So boiling it all down, who are the ideal users based on this collection of sources?
Brevo really shines for small to medium-sized businesses, marketing automation beginners, e-commerce folks. Basically anyone prioritizing budget but still needing strong email and multi-channel tools.
And HubSpot.
Ideal for medium to large companies that need that deep integrated suite. Businesses focused on complex lead generation and nurturing processes. Also, agencies needing strong reporting and that wide ecosystem.
Makes sense. And you mentioned something for developers.
Yeah, just a quick note, the Brevo source mentioned they have tools like APIs, SDKs, code recipes for custom integrations, managing transactional stuff programmatically, so they are catering to a technical audience too.
Good to know. And we saw some outside perspectives confirming this too, right? Like on Reddit?
Yeah, there was a Reddit discussion mentioned where users were debating Brevo versus HubSpot, hitting exactly these points, cost versus features. Other names like EngageBay, Go High Level, Pipedrive also popped up.
And that Forecastio platform.
Right, a sales performance tool built specifically for HubSpot users. It just highlights how platforms like HubSpot can spawn their own ecosystems.
So those real-world discussions just echo these trade-offs we're seeing.
Exactly. Cost, complexity, features, that's the real decision point users face.
So going back to that car engine analogy, Brevo is maybe that reliable, efficient engine, good for getting around town, straightforward trips, doesn't break the bank, powerful for communication volume.
Yeah, I like that. And HubSpot, maybe more like a high-performance modular engine system. Incredible potential power and integration. But unlocking it costs more, requires more expertise for set up that implementation piece, but ultimately handles way more complex demands as you scale up towards, race car levels.
So based on everything we've pulled from these sources, the choice really comes down to matching the platform's whole approach, its costs, complexity, capabilities to your specific business size, your budget, and where you realistically see yourself growing.
Which, raises a really important question, I think. In this world of CRM and marketing tech, everything's getting more complex, more interconnected. How much power and integration does a business actually need at any given time?
That's a great point.
And how do you balance the lure of advanced features with the real cost and complexity of not just buying it, but implementing it and using it effectively every day?
It's not just about the feature list on paper.
Exactly. It's about how it genuinely integrates into your workflow and actually empowers your operations and ultimately your customer relationships. Definitely something to think about as you map out your own digital toolkit.